Vedanta tells us that what exists is an unbroken ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss, being, consciousness, bliss. But the thing is, that's not how we experience life. How do we experience life? We experience life as I, and what am I? Body and mind. And this. What is this? People and plants and animals and oceans and stars and planets. This is what I experience life as. All of us experience life as subject and object. Where is this unbroken ocean of being and consciousness and bliss? Vedanta says, makes the bold claim that it's right here. What you perceive, what we perceive as I and this, subject and object, is actually this unbroken notion of existence, consciousness, bliss, but covered by a network of names and forms. It's not as difficult as it sounds. It's like looking at the ocean and saying that, what do you mean it's endless water? I just see lots of waves and surf and spray. Where is the water in this? It's exactly like that. Your vision is going to the names and forms, waves and surf and so on. But the constituent material, the substance, the reality there is the water. Right, just like that, right here, within us and outside us, there is that one unbroken reality. Now, because of the veiling power of Maya, we are unable to see this fact. About ocean and waves and water, it's easy. You know what is water and you know what's a wave. You can make the distinction very clearly. About gold and ornaments, you know what's gold and what's a necklace, and you can make the distinction very clearly. But about Brahman and the world, that's where the problem is. We know what the world is, but what's Brahman here? In our experience, right now, where is Brahman? Looking inwards, the way to overcome or cut through the veiling power of Maya, how do you find Brahman within? That was the method. The method that was given was the method of the seer and the seen. That's what we did in the first verse. Now the question comes, how do I see Brahman outside? How do I see Brahman in every being? It's a bold question. The question is, what is being asked is nothing less than, how do I see God with open eyes? I remembered this monk I met about 15 years ago in the Himalayas, who is to stay in these gorgeous surroundings, towering mountains and glaciers and forests and the river Ganga running by very fast. And this monk, he told me his story. It's a long story, but basically he was not very learned, but he came to his master. I'll tell you his name. It will be familiar to those who know the Shivananda, Chinmayananda tradition. You would have heard of Tapovan Maharaj, who lived in Gangotri, and his sevak, Sundaranandaji. So I met Sundaranandaji, who told me how he had come to Tapovan Maharaj, and he was not all that educated, so it was difficult for him to grasp Vedanta. Tapovan Maharaj taught the highest Vedanta. But Tapovan Maharaj gave him a little mantra, as it were, a little insight. And he shared that with me. He said that my guru used to say, I'll quote it in Hindi first, a quotation from Kabir, the mystic, and then translate for you. My guru used to say, Khule nayan dekhu sahab ko, with open eyes I behold my Lord. With open eyes I behold my Lord. And he said his guru taught him to see God in the Himalayas, in the mountains, and in the river, and so on. So that's the question we are asking. How do I see God with open eyes? See? Hello. That's another Vedantin. He doesn't want to go. Hello. Oops, I got it. Sri Ramakrishna actually. One second. Sri Ramakrishna actually saw the Divine Mother in a cat. And as a funny aside, in one of our libraries, I found a book on cats, and the opening quotation was Sri Ramakrishna saying that I saw the Divine Mother, the Kali, the Divine Mother God, in a cat. And that's all that there was about spirituality or Ramakrishna. The rest of it was about cats. So, the book. So how do we see God with open eyes? That's the question. And we are actually going to find the answer to that here in the 20th verse. Yes, next verse. 20th verse. Let me state the problem in this way. What is the problem and what is the solution? There's a nice story I heard from a monk in Haridwar. He said, imagine there is this boy in a village who has not seen a movie. Now, it will be a very rare boy today who has not seen a movie. But anyway, just imagine that there's this little boy who has not seen a movie, and his dad takes him to see a movie, and his dad tells him on the way to this big city where he can see a movie, look, a movie is basically a screen on which pictures are projected. There's a screen and on which pictures are projected, and that's a movie. Now, when they get into the movie hall, the movie theater, the movie's already started. And that's important because when we are thrust into this world, the movie's already started. We didn't get in on at the beginning. So we are in the middle of the movie. And the boy, just like us, gets engrossed in the movie. Maybe it's Star Wars or something like that. And he gets engrossed in the movie. After some time, he's curious. And he whispers to his father, Dad, where's the screen you're talking about? And his dad says, there, in front of you. Oh, you mean Luke Skywalker? No. Behind him. Behind him. You mean Darth Vader? No, behind both of them. Oh, you mean the spaceship? No, beyond that. Oh, you mean deep space? That's the screen? No. If you take all of that, it's all of that. Oh, so the screen is Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and the spaceship and deep space. That's what the screen is? No. Just remove all of that. Oh, remove all of that. So nothing. The screen is nothing. No. How will the father point the screen out to the boy? Because whatever he points to, there's a picture there. And the boy takes the picture. Now there's no... see, now you can see the difference. The screen and the picture. So... whatever the father points to is a picture. So it's a very beautiful thing. You can see now. What's the screen? Is it the scuba diver? Is it the ocean? Is it both of them? Is it none of them? So everywhere there's a picture. And when you look at the world out, when I look out here at the world, there are pictures. There are people and chairs, and there's a hall, and there are trees, and the sky, and the ocean. Where is Brahman? And the answer is now given in this verse. The 20th verse. I said the first verse was the most important verse. That is true because it gives you the essence of the teaching. The key to unlock the teachings. The first verse. But if I were to pick a second most important verse in the whole book, it would be this verse. The 20th verse. And this is actually a more famous verse. It's well known outside this book also. When people study Vedanta, they have come across this verse, not the first one. So the 20th verse, let's chant it together. Asti bhati priyam rupam, asti bhati priyam rupam, nama chetyangsha panchakam, nama chetyangsha panchakam. Adyatrayam brahma rupam, adyatrayam brahma rupam, jagadrupam tatodvayam, jagadrupam tatodvayam. The verse simple, but in its profundity, it's breathtaking in the boldness of its claim. It points out Brahman to you, it points out God to you here in this world right now, straight away to you, it points it out. How does it do that? It says, in every experience that we have of the world, in every experience, there are 5 factors. 3 of them point to Brahman, 2 of them are part of the world. 3 of them belong to the screen, 2 of them are the pictures. What are these 5 factors? Existence. Asti. Things exist here. This bottle exists. This body exists. Body is. Man is. Woman is. The hall is. The sky is. The ocean is. The cat is. Isness. And we feel it. We feel it all the time. We feel it all the time. Things, they are. They exist. Concentrate for a moment on the sense of being, isness. That's one factor. Whenever we experience anything, we experience it together with isness, being. The second thing is, it's not a dark and dull being. It reveals itself to us. Look around. The world shines forth. Look, the world, it's shining forth. You see it. You hear it. You smell it. You taste it. You touch it. Thoughts shine forth. Everything shines forth to us. Bhati. We experience the isness. There is an experience to it. There is shining forth. Bhati means shining forth. It appears to us. We can experience it. And the third one is priyam. It is joyful. It's bliss. You might raise a flag here. Not everything is bliss. And there are things which are unpleasant and miserable. So we'll just bracket that and keep it aside for a while. We'll understand it later. But basically, 3 factors in every experience. You get isness, awareness, and bliss. How that bliss comes, I'll tell you later. And 2 more factors. Rupa. Rupa means form. Things have a form. This bottle has a particular form. This cloth has a particular form. Things which you look around, everything has its distinct form. These forms are the pictures on the screen. They're the pictures, forms. And everything has a concept associated with it, which is called nama, name. So we look at the form and we say, and the form need not be visual only. It can be auditory. Sound has a form. Taste has a form. Smell has a touch has a form. All of them. Every experience has a distinct form, which sets it apart from every other experience. So forms and associated concepts called names, nama. So here is a form, bottle, and then the name is bottle. It's a form, you can see it, and its name is bottle. But also it is, and it shines forth, and it's blissful in a particular way. I'll tell you that. Now, here is the point. Adyatrayam Brahmarupam. The first 3 are Brahman. Isness, awareness or shining forth, and bliss. And these all, they're not exactly Brahman, but they point to Brahman. Where? In our experience. Jagat Rupam Tato Dvayam. The other 2, names and forms, are the world. They are the picture. Isness, shining forth, bliss are the screen. And names and forms are the pictures. Now this enables us to distinguish in our example the difference between the world and Brahman. Right now, when we look at the world, focus on the isness, you're focusing on Brahman. Focus on the name and form, man, woman, cat, tree, sky, earth, then you're focusing on the picture, on the world. Notice one thing. The isness continues. Just like water in the ocean, thousands of waves, each wave different from the other, but the constituent water is one and the same, unbroken all throughout. In the same way, can you look at all these people and the chairs you're sitting on in the hall as waves in an ocean? And what's like the water? Existence. An ocean of being here. An ocean of existence here. And the existence itself appears in different names and forms. So they are like, here's an ocean of existence, and all of these people, all of these chairs, and whatever, all the objects are like waves in this ocean. What's like the water? The isness, the shining forthness, and the bliss. So here in our experience, you find 5 factors. So this analysis into 5 factors is pretty well known in Vedanta. Asti, bhati, priyam, rupa, nama. Asti is isness, bhati is shining forth, awareness, and bliss, priyam is bliss or happiness, and then rupa, forms, nama, names. Notice, asti, bhati, priyam continues, or at least for the time being, you can say asti and bhati, isness and shining forthness, are found in every experience. Names and forms change from experience to experience. From person to person, when you go, forms are different, names are different. But isness, yes, there is isness here, there is isness there, there is isness there. Isness is common, existence is common everywhere. This unbroken, unchanging ocean of existence, that is Brahman. This unbroken, unchanging ocean of shining forth here, this is Brahman. And the bliss, I will speak about it, that is Brahman. But the differences which constitute the differences, names and forms, that is the world, that is Jagat. Notice how the differences come and go. Names and forms change. The body changes its form. The world changes. The seasons change. The color of the sky changes from day and night. All of these objects, names and forms are changing. But the isness does not change. The unchanging isness, awareness, bliss is Brahman. And it's available to us right now, all the time. Now, let's take up the vexed question of the claims that everywhere there is an unbroken ocean of bliss. As far as the unbroken ocean of existence is concerned, we all understand what they're trying to say. We find being everywhere, isness. Because if a thing were not to have isness, what would it be? It would be is not. It would disappear, right? The book is. And if it did not have that isness, it would immediately book is not. It would disappear. So anything that we experience definitely has being, isness. But how does everything have bliss? How does everything have joy? There are 2 explanations I have found here. One is, everything is bliss, but it's because the way we are looking at it through our minds and through our concepts, in our ignorance, we cover it with a network of raga dvesha, desire and, let's say, repulsion. I like this, I don't like that. Actually, if all of it is Brahman, then there should not be a question of I like this and I don't like that. It's all I myself am shining forth as all of this. You remember the story of the princess of Kashi? And the prince said, I like that. Thinking the error involved there was, there is something different from himself called the princess of Kashi which he wants. Now, because we like that, when we get something which we like, we get pleasure. And we call that bliss. When we don't like something, when we get that, we get pain. We get unpleasantness. And we said that there's no bliss there, that's unpleasant. But this pleasant and unpleasant is only at the surface. It's because of our particular likes and dislikes. And those likes and dislikes are based on ignorance. If we would know things as they are, as Brahman, we would like everything, because like is not the right word. We would identify with everything. Everything is an expression of my own bliss. And that's not just a theoretical claim. If you look at the enlightened persons you would consider enlightened, note one difference between them and the rest. The enlightened person does not find anything worth rejecting, unpleasant, dislike. All are his or her own self. So from the point of view of the enlightened person, everything is priyam, everything is bliss. Yes, even disease or insult or hurt, There is a story of a cobra which came and bit a monk, a Mahatma in India. And when he recovered, somebody asked him about it, and he said, "It was a messenger from my beloved." So how, and he really means it, a messenger from my beloved. So everything that the enlightened person experiences, names and forms, some names and forms are pleasant, some names and forms are unpleasant. Behind it is one ocean of bliss. So in that's one explanation. From the point of view of the enlightened person, everything is bliss. There is another explanation, which is also very interesting. Existence. We find existence where? Everywhere. All around. Look around. Things exist. But awareness, consciousness, this bhati, this shining forth, this consciousness, awareness, where do we find it? Can you think about it? Where, just look around your own experience. Where do you find awareness? An example, preliminary reply might be, well, in all living beings, maybe we find awareness. Not true. You find awareness only in one place and one place only. You know what? In what? Yes, we find awareness within ourselves, in our own minds. Where do you find awareness? Only in your own mind. Check right now. You will say that, Swami, are you saying that my neighbor, the person sitting next to me, is not aware, is a zombie or something? That I'm the only one who's got awareness? No, I'm not saying that. Listen to what I'm saying precisely. I'm saying that you will find awareness precisely within yourself. When you look at your neighbor, you are looking at the body of the neighbor. You're not experiencing the awareness of your neighbor. The awareness which your neighbor experiences within himself or herself, that awareness you are not experiencing, right? You are only experiencing the body of your neighbor, the behavior of your neighbor, the language of your neighbor. You're experiencing the externals, not the internal awareness of your neighbor. So every one of us, we experience awareness only in our minds, only inside us, in our minds, nowhere else. Not only that, where do we experience bliss? Where do we experience bliss? Again, only in the mind, and in the mind in a sattvic state. When the mind becomes sattvic, when it experiences bliss or happiness or joy. So, here is the gradation. Where is existence experienced? In everything. Without exception. Because if you did not experience existence, the thing would not exist. It would disappear. So, in everything that exists, you experience existence. Where do you experience awareness? Only in your own mind. Particularly in your own mind. And where do you experience bliss? In your own mind, only when it is in a state of sattva. Now, what does this mean? All these things, including our bodies and minds, they are all names and forms. All names and forms, without exception, can reflect or borrow existence from Brahman. So all names and forms exist. But only a certain kind of name and form can borrow consciousness from Brahman. What is that name and form? Mind. So in our own minds we experience consciousness and existence. The mind exists and it is conscious. And there's only one state of the mind which can reflect not only existence, not only consciousness, but bliss from Brahman. And that is the sattvic state of the mind. Brahman in itself is unbroken existence, consciousness, bliss. It's only the limitations of our mirrors that we can reflect a part of it, a little more of it, or more of it. So a good reflection of Brahman is existence. A better reflection of Brahman is awareness, existence. And the best reflection of Brahman is awareness, existence, bliss. Bliss. Think about bliss. Bliss in itself, happiness, the highest happiness in itself, contains within itself implicitly awareness. You can't be happy without being aware. You can never say, I was really happy, but I didn't know it. That sounds so odd. If you are happy, you know it, you experience it. And of course, existence. So existence and awareness are contained within the conception of bliss. Brahman, in fact, in Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahman is defined as not as existence, consciousness, bliss, but just as bliss. Ananda. We sing here, Anandoham. Ananda means bliss. Bliss in itself contains existence and awareness. So that's the explanation here. Two explanations I've given. Asti bhati priyam, isness, shining forthness, happiness. Rupam, forms. Nama, names and concepts. Angsha panchakam are the five factors. Five factors of what? Every experience that we have. If you look at your experience, you'll have all these five factors. Adyatrayam Brahma Rupam. The first three belong to Brahman. Belong to Brahman. They're not exactly Brahman, but they are pointing to Brahman. The existence that you see around here is not Brahman in itself, because it's not an object, but it points to Brahman, the isness. Jagat Rupam Tatodvayam. And the other two, what are the other two? Names and forms. They are of the nature of Maya, of the nature of the world, of Jagat. They're continuously changing. We remain engrossed in that, and that's samsara. You look through that to existence, consciousness, bliss. Like that monk said, do you remember I shared the thing about the X-ray vision? The monk said, your vision must be, like a Vedanta student's vision must be like that X-ray beam, which penetrates, X-ray penetrates through skin and flesh and blood and goes straight to the bones. Here you must penetrate through name and form and go straight to existence, awareness, bliss. Present here. And he expounds further in verse 21. So verse 20 is very important. Verse 21. Khavayagni jalor vishu, Khavayagni jalor vishu, Devatiryang naradishu, Devatiryang naradishu, Abhinna Satchidananda, Abhinna Satchidananda, Bhidyete Rupanamani, Bhidyete Rupanamani. Very nice poetic verse. Says, sky and the air and fire and water and earth, the five elements which compose the universe. In gods, Deva, in reptiles and snakes, that means all living beings, in human beings, everywhere, abhinna, non-different, the one same, homogeneous, unchanging. Abhinna means unchanging, not different. In every one of these, Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. In the sky, in the fire, in the water, in the cat, in the human beings, in everywhere you find this one existence, consciousness, bliss. An ocean of isness, awareness, joy. And what is different? Because all these are different. How are they different? Bhidyete rupanamani. They all differ from each other only in name and form. They all differ from each other only in name and form. In the packaging, inside the stuff inside is one and the same. That existence, consciousness, bliss, you are. You are that very existence, consciousness, bliss, which shines forth in all these names and forms. All right. The teaching is complete at this point in 21. Now, what remains is the practices. You see, in Vedanta, I had mentioned 3 stages. Hearing, thinking about it, meditating upon it. Shravana, manana, nididhyasana. So now we come to the last part, which is nididhyasana. He will give us a set of 6 practices, 6 meditation techniques to stabilize this knowledge. So 6 methods of stabilizing this knowledge, 6 methods of meditation. Straight away, let me tell you, some people say that, oh, so now we come to the real thing. You should have started with this. No, this is not the real thing. The real thing is the teaching. Whatever was done from verse 1 to verse 21, that's the real thing. This part of it is the stabilizing, is the deepening, is making it steady within ourselves. So Vedantic meditation has a difference between this and yogic meditation. In yogic meditation, the purpose is to calm down the mind, to make the restless mind deeply calm and quiet so that the truth shines forth. In the Yoga Sutras, you find yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Cessation of the modifications of the mind is yoga. If the mind calms down, then what happens? Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Then the seer, the witness, which we are talking about here also, the witness, it is appreciated in its real nature. It's understood or caught in its real nature. Otherwise, when the mind is restless, what happens to the witness? Vritti sarupyam itaratra, the fourth sutra. It gets identified with the movements of the mind. So that's yogic meditation. Calm down the mind and the witness consciousness becomes clear. What Vedantic meditation does is somewhat different. Vedantic meditation is using vichara. Vichara means a philosophical inquiry, what we have been doing till now, the 21 verses. Using that to penetrate through to the truth even while the movie is running. I compare yogic meditation to switching off the movie. One way of teaching the child what the screen is to switch off the movie and show the screen to the child. So the child understands, oh, this is the screen. And then when you switch on the movie, the child will not be deluded anymore. You can happily watch the movie without being confused about what the screen is. Now the child knows what the screen is. Similarly, in samadhi, when the mind is switched off, the pictures disappear and what remains is asti bhati priyam, satchidananda. This Vedantic teaching enables us to recognize it. So here, what is done in Vedantic teaching is a philosophical inquiry. Even while the movie is playing, even while there are pictures, names and forms, it enables me to see through them to realize what is Brahman right here. So the teaching is very important in Vedantic meditation. If you've got the teaching, then the meditation is effective. If you've not got the teaching, meditation is just nice. You're sitting quietly. It's like, you want to learn physics? So somebody tells you, go to Columbia University, enroll in a course there, purchase the textbooks, go to the class, listen to the teacher, think about what the teacher has taught, and then sit quietly and ponder about it, you will get it. And if somebody says, so the final thing is sitting quietly. So is it enough if I sit quietly? I don't go to the class, I don't listen to the teacher, I don't buy the textbooks, I don't think about it, I just sit quietly. So will I get it? No, you won't. So the first part of it is important. But now, these very interesting techniques are there, 6 techniques which enable us to deepen this teaching. 3 of these techniques are internal and 3 external. What do I mean by internal and external? Remember, we are Brahman inside. I am Brahman. And all this which I experience is Brahman. The subject is actually Brahman and the object is actually Brahman. So 3 techniques to enable us to understand that I am Brahman. And 3 techniques to enable us to grasp that everything is Brahman. So these 6 techniques. Let's start. (22) Upeksha nama rupe dve, upeksha nama rupe dve, Satchidananda tatparam, Satchidananda tatparam, Samadhim sarvada kuryad, Samadhim sarvada kuryad, Hridaye vathava bahihi, Hridaye vathava bahihi. Samadhim sarvada kuryad. These techniques are to be practiced when? Once in a while. No. They insist you should do it for a long period of time. Do it as much as possible. There is a time when, in order to make a breakthrough, you really must apply yourself. I think it was Malcolm Gladwell who wrote this best-selling book about the 10K principle. 10,000 hours of practice, intensive practice enables you to get mastery. What was the book? Outliers. Yes. So it says in any field, it takes around 10,000 hours of concentrated practice. If it's music, if it is art or writing, you must put in that 10,000 hours. 10,000 is a rule of thumb, more or less, and quite intensively. Not 1 hour a day for the rest of my life. It's several hours for a few years, so that you get mastery over it. Something like that is meant here. These techniques are called samadhis. They are little different from the yogic samadhis, so that must be clear in mind. So the 6 techniques, engage yourselves in that. And you have a choice. The advantage of this Vedantic method is, in the Patanjali yoga method, you have to go through the Ashtanga method, that where yama, niyama, the moral practices first, and then asana. You must sit quietly. You can't do meditation walking around and jumping around. You must breathe and then withdraw your mind from the world. That's how you meditate. Dhyana, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. But here, you're given a choice. You can meditate with eyes closed and you can meditate with eyes open. When you are engaged in the world, you can still use these techniques to appreciate Brahman in the world of action, when you are engaged in doing work in the world. So these 6 techniques can be practiced anywhere. I mean, the 3 of them require you to go inside, and 3 of them in the middle of the world of action, you can do it. How the basic principle is upeksha nama rupe dve satchidananda tatpara. The basic principle of all the 6 techniques is this. You have to ignore the picture and try to focus on the screen. You have to ignore the name and form and try to focus on the isness, the shining forthness and the bliss aspect. So Satchidananda Tatpara, focused on Satchidananda, Nama Rupe Dve Upeksha. Upeksha means ignoring, unfocused on that. Samsara is when we focus on the name and form. When you focus on isness, then you're focusing on Brahman, not on samsara. It's an interesting concept. You can try it in your lives. I like this food, I don't like that food. Name and form. Focus on the isness. Does this food exist? Yes, of course. Does that food exist? Yes, of course. That food also exists. Focus on the isness of the food, the awareness with which you are having the experience of eating the food, not on the particular taste of the food. The taste is part of the name and form. Taste is part of the name and form. I like this taste, I don't like that taste, name and form. Go deeper. Isness, awareness, same. Yeah. Then this particular likes and dislikes diminish. You sort of tune down the volume, which is shouting so loudly in our ears. You tune that down, and the background isness, awareness, bliss becomes apparent. And you are focusing on Brahman. Congratulations then. So, upeksha nama rupe dve satchidananda tatpara. What are these blessed techniques? Let's look at the techniques. 23. We'll do this and stop today. 23. A classification of the 6 techniques. Savikalpo nirvikalpa, savikalpo nirvikalpa, samadhir dvividho hridi, samadhir dvividho hridi, drishya shabdanuvedena, drishya shabdanuvedena, savikalpa punadvidham, savikalpa punadvidham. So there are 2 kinds of samadhi are to be practiced within, which are known as savikalpa and nirvikalpa. And savikalpa samadhi is again divided into 2 types, associated with an object, associated with words. That's confusing. Let me put it this way. The 6 techniques are divided into 2 classes. 3 internal, 3 external. The 3 internal are divided into 2 classes again. 2 of them are what is called savikalpa with a support. And the last one is nirvikalpa, supportless. The 3 external ones are also divided into 2 classes. First 1 and 2 are savikalpa with a support, and the last one is nirvikalpa without a support. And they are sequential. They are not optional. You have to start with the first one, the internal. For example, if you take up the internal practices, 3 internal practices, you have to start with the first one, the first with support practice, the second with support practice, and then it automatically flows into the third one, which is without support. Externally also, you start with the first one, which is with support, and the second one, another type, which is with support, and then it will flow automatically into the third one, which is without support. Now, what do you mean support? Supports are of 2 kinds. The first one with support is with an object. The second one with support is with a text. You go from an object to a text and then give up both object and text and becomes without support. What all this means, with support, without support, object, text, all of that will become clear, but you have to wait till tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.